Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining me. I'm here to talk to you about what we have learned about social shopping in times of social distancing over the past year here at Gamitee. Gamitee is a Jerusalem-based startup that provides a social shopping tool for e-commerce websites. Our position as enablers of social shopping has allowed us to learn a lot about the effects of COVID on how people shop together. I'll be talking about what is social shopping, why is it important, and how does it relate to e-commerce, and how COVID has affected this, and what we should, as e-commerce shops, expect and aim for. Of course, 2020 has taught us that we can't really know what's coming, but there are some takeaways. Let me back up a second and maybe start by actually introducing myself. I'm Ella, and I head sales here at the company. I've been here for almost 3 years. Also, I am very in love with my cat and slightly obsessed with the movie Legally Blonde. And now that we know each other a bit better, we can go ahead and dive right in. First thing that I want to do is try and define what I actually mean when I say social shopping. If you try to Google social shopping, you'll mostly find definitions that have to do with ads on social media for e-commerce websites. But what I'm talking about is completely different. It's the actual notion that shopping is a social activity, and the understanding that the same way we need each other in order to make any other decision, purchase decisions are also based very much on what our friends and what our family think. I'm going to go ahead and share an experience that I had a few weeks ago with you when I needed to replace my computer because the old one had finished its career. And I've actually added a visual aid in order to convey my feelings as I was browsing through the endless sea of options for new computers. And even though I have a pretty solid technical background, there is so much to worry about when you try to purchase a computer. What company should I get? How much battery time? How big should it be? Is it going to be too heavy? What type of memory do I need? Should I get insurance? And all of these are just the technical things to worry about. This is without even going into the social implications of whether I should buy a computer that said something about my status or my financial situation. Because shopping is not just a pragmatic question. Shopping is a social experience. The clothes we wear, the brands we like, the designers we choose, and the products we use defines not just our likes and our dislikes, but our status, our values, and our social circle. So the way I solve this is the way that many of us solve it. I consulted that one friend who understands better than I do. In the case of a computer, it really is a lot about technical questions. But think about buying a dress for your best friend's wedding, a gift for your mom's birthday, purchasing groceries for a shared flat or a family, booking a vacation online. All of these scenarios have something very similar to them. We want our friends or our family's opinion. But since we're shopping online, we don't have a convenient way of getting it. I'm sure you can relate to what you're seeing on the screen here. The WhatsApp, the links, the WhatsApp groups, the screenshots. Probably the worst thing is when you find yourself, picking up your phone and actually taking a shot of your computer in order to ask your friends what's going on. This is such a broken experience. And if we try to compare this to what we feel in the brick and mortar store, we start to understand why this is a problem. In a brick and mortar store, the browsing, the decision-making, the purchasing, it all happens in the same place and usually in quite a short time frame. Online, we have a longer time to debate, a longer time to browse. And the amount of options out there is actually stretching out the decision making. And one of the main differences between the online and offline is the possibility to discuss with your friends and with your family while you're shopping. Let's imagine this scenario. I'm in an electronics shop. I am holding up the two last phones that I'm comparing between and trying to choose. I turn to my friend and I ask them, which one should I get? And then the store owner kicks us out and goes, no deliberating in my store. That sounds completely crazy, right? But that's essentially what happens in the online stores. When we reach that crucial part of asking our friends for an opinion, of trying to finalize the decision making, we're forced off of the e-commerce store and we have to get all of this information on a separate platform, on a WhatsApp, on a Messenger, whatever it is you're using. And the thing is that once we've left the e-commerce store, there is a much smaller chance that we are coming back and closing that deal. And you can see this in how the conversion rate drops from 20 to 3% between brick and mortar and online stores. The important thing that we need to understand is actually very clearly explained in this citation by Orban, Tomova, and Blackmore. Social interactions are proposed to be a basic human need, analogous to other fundamental needs such as food consumption or sleep. The need for social interaction is old and well rooted into human behavior. And this need becomes even stronger when we're faced with a decision that we're not sure about. So that's the theory, but let's see if the numbers actually add up. So let's look at these two numbers that I brought here. The first one, 93% of millennials purchase based on a friend's recommendation. Well, this just shows us, once again, that it's important for e-commerce websites to allow social interactions because that will increase their engagement and increase their traffic. But the more incredible number here is actually the second one. 66% of millennials ask for their friends' advice before a purchase. That means that online, for millennials, 2/3 of them are forced to leave the website before they can actually finish the deal. When we know this, cart abandonment numbers and low online conversion rate makes a lot of sense. Now, you could come and say, well, the fact that millennials want advice doesn't actually mean that they won't complete a purchase without this advice. And this was exactly one of the points that we wanted to check after we saw this statistic, to help us understand whether this is a real need or just a preference. So in order to look even deeper into this theory, we launched a survey and we asked people this exact question. What online purchase would you never make without someone's opinion? And we asked them to specify verticals. Majority of the answers were for beauty products, fashion, electronics, vacation planning, jewelry, and groceries. So quite an extensive part of shopping. But probably the most interesting data point here is that only 14.6 of the people who answered the survey said that they don't need someone's opinion for any purchase. That leaves us with an astounding 85% of customers that say that they would never make a purchase without first asking someone for their opinion. An interesting point is that this is valid across ages and across genders. People are just people. An even stronger data point that shows us the same thing is when we rephrase this survey and we asked online purchase, what online purchase would you never make without someone's permission? And the answers didn't change drastically, which basically shows us that as far as people are concerned, opinion equals permission. People seem to see their peers' opinion before they shop as a permission to purchase, pointing once more to the fact that they will not complete a transaction if they haven't first discussed it with their friends. So now that it's established that shopping is indeed a social activity, not just like the fun social let's hang out, but an actual need for social support, And we understand that the need for social interactions during purchase decisions is crucial. We can go ahead and look at what has actually happened in the past year where social interactions in brick and mortar was very, very much limited. Well, first and foremost, we can note the sheer numbers that have changed. Online shopping grew immensely during this period and far surpassed what we expected it to be at this time. Online stores became the main source of revenue for many companies, further stressing why it's so important to make these online stores friendly and as accommodating as possible. And while a lot of us will go back to shopping brick and mortar stores, this increase will not disappear completely. But more than just an increase in the usage of e-commerce itself, we've seen an extreme uptake in the usage of social online tools. These type of conferences, for example, and that's just one example. The success of Zoom, that's another example. This is one of my favorite pictures. You can see my grandfather and grandmother. My grandfather, by the way, has celebrated his 92nd birthday this week, here on a Zoom call. These are the same people who very seriously asked my mother who they can call to come and install their vacuum cleaner. But here they are on Zoom. Even the most technically challenged people that you know have probably learned how to use Zoom or any other social online platform that will allow them to have the social interactions that they so badly need and could not have due to the pandemic. If one of the greatest barriers to adding social tools to online shopping was education, a lot of that was bridged during the COVID pandemic. And that change is definitely here to stay. What people have learned, they're not going to unlearn. Our standpoint as enablers of social e-commerce has actually allowed us to see this change happen in front of our eyes. If we take a quick look at the adoption of our online shopping tool, in 2018, 2019, we were looking at 2, maybe 3% of users in every website who were clicking our tool. By the end of 2020, with absolutely no marketing effort, our average use went up to 4.5%, and it's been climbing since, teaching us that people are a lot more flexible and more willing to learn new tools online, and that they're looking for solutions. Another data point that points in this direction is actually the graph that I'm showing here. This talks about the conversion rate. The increase in conversion rate that we have seen for customers using our tool has also increased rapidly due to the pandemic. It turns out that when we don't have the possibility to have the social interactions we so badly need offline, well, we will bring them online. And this sets a new level of expectation to the experience that we want to have online. And those expectations are here to stay after the pandemic will be gone. So to sum up, COVID has actually pushed the usage of social shopping in a few different ways. The isolation and distancing has created a strong need for social interactions online. The increase in the usage of e-commerce has taught users more about shopping online and opened that option for users who wouldn't have done so in the past. And COVID has bridged an education gap, making room for many new social tools that had low customer adoption before the pandemic. So, what should e-commerce businesses expect looking forward? Well, trying to predict the future is pretty much impossible. I think we've all learned that lesson very strongly. However, the trends that we are currently seeing with social shopping, e-commerce increase, remote work, and many other trends that have increased during COVID, they were just sped up by the pandemic. They were not created by it. We knew these trends were here before the pandemic, and they were getting stronger. So what that actually means that, in my opinion, the main lesson that we need to take is we need to act on trends when we see them coming, when we see them in the future, not when they're at our doorstep, not when we have to do that, otherwise our business won't survive. Businesses that were prepared in advance and had their e-commerce game on point are the winners of this pandemic. And that is exactly what I think we should take away from this. One thing that is clearer than ever is our need for each other. People will go to great lengths not to feel isolated. We all know this. We all feel this in our own personal lives. But the pandemic has showed us that it's time to bring these social interactions online to the e-commerce stores as well. Thank you so much for listening, and please feel free to contact me and stay safe and healthy.